What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Chunk Chaser. Some of you guys may know me from Instagram at Chunk Chaser. My name is Zach Degenhart, and first of all, in this video, I'm going to get into a little bit about myself real quick. Not much, just a little. Like I said, my name is Zach Degenhart, and I'm an avid outdoorsman. I'm a hunter and a fisherman, angler, whatever you want to call it. And I'm focusing this channel all on fishing. I am an avid bass fisherman, and that's what this channel is going to be focused on. It's bass fishing. I'm sure there'll be other videos, but that's far to come from now. So, other than that, let's get to it. So today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite lures and fishing techniques for this awkward transition time between winter and the pre-spawn, basically, and especially here in northern Illinois, which is where I'm from. I'm from a southern Chicago suburb, so the water temperatures are still freezing. We're in a time period where we're going between 30 degrees and 50 degrees every day, and it's not consistent, and the bass are just they're not deep anymore, and they're not on their beds yet, so we're just trying to find them, and it's a real slow process, guys. It's a grind. It's always a grind, and I can't stress that enough, especially this time of the year. So, some tips to get those bass out of the water and on the land. We're going to go over a couple of my favorite baits. So, if you didn't hear the rattle already, the first bait I'm going to talk about is the lipless crankbait. I almost forgot the name. Lipless crankbait. This is my favorite one by far, and actually, I didn't start using lipless crankbaits until very recently. I never had any faith in them. I've tried them time and time again, and I never had any luck on it. But this past year, I've had tons of luck, and that's due to the fact that I've done some research, and I've basically figured out a better retrieval for it, and especially this time of year. And as you guys can tell, if you follow my Instagram, I've been posting about it a lot. As you guys can tell, it's clearly been beat up, all from the bass, just taking whacks at it. So, guys, this is a great bait. I believe this is the Strike King one, Red Eye Shad, something like that. Don't quote me, but this bait is amazing this time of year, and I never knew it. So, guys, what I found in this slower time when these bass are lethargic, just a slow retrieval and stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And what I mean by that is when you cast it out, let it sink for a couple seconds, count to 5, 10, however deep you're fishing, kind of base that off that. Same with your weight of the bait. And then just a couple cranks at a time. And with this bait, I've been using my Bass Pro Qualifier bait caster. It's super old, but it gets the job done. It's kind of a not fast but not too slow retrieve, and I've just been letting it sink for a couple seconds and then taking a couple cranks. And what I'd usually do is count 3 cranks and then pause for about a second, count 3 cranks, and that's been what on that pause is when they're slamming it. So make sure you're pausing it, and other than that, you can test. It's really how the fish want it. Test exactly how you're fishing, where you're fishing want it. So guys, I'm sure but for the newer fishermen, this is the place where you hook it on, where you tie the line to, and just use a simple clinch knot right here. It's super easy, the easiest knot in fishing. Wrap it around 7 times, stick it through the bottom, and pull it tight. Not too hard. But guys, I can't stress this enough. Cast it out, let it sink a few seconds, take 3 or 4 cranks, let it sit, and I'm talking drag these cranks. And if you get caught up in grass, just flick the rod, just rip it through. You guys know how it goes. So that's number 1. Especially with the moving baits, guys, you want to search the area, find your fish before you spend the time. Number 2, search bait in this period of time is the chatterbait. Now, I have this rigged up a little strange, I know. It's the chartreuse one, and I actually have the back tail of a paddle tail swim bait by Powerbait. Not sure exactly on the name, but the chatterbait's a great bait right now. Slow rolling it, guys. Like I said, with the lipless, absolutely slow rolling, and I can't stress that enough because these bass, like I said, are lethargic. Now, some of the little ones I have had,
come up and slam it when you're trying to get it back in, either to the shore, the boat, or the kayak, whatever you're fishing from. Me personally, I fish, like I said, I don't know if I said it, I fish from shore and kayak. I do not have a bass boat at the moment, but yeah. So like I said, slow retrieval, jig it, guys. This is one of the most versatile baits on the market, and I can't stress it enough. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies or baits. I just am simply naming some tips. So like I said, great bait. With the paddle tail on there, I'm swimming it more than I'm bouncing off the bottom. If I'm going to bounce it off the bottom, um, I could still use this. I tend to use the regular trailer for that, but great bait. Definitely use it. Base the color off your water clarity, guys. If it's, if it's super murky, something like this might be good, or a black and blue might be good. And if it's super clear, you're going to want something like a pumpkin green. So another great bait for searching. Let's go to our next bait. The especially cold water, very cold water, is the jerk bait. Now, this isn't the best color for bass, but this is what I'm using for right now. The jerk bait. I believe this is Rapala. What we're doing with this is similar to what we're doing with the lipless crankbait. We're slow rolling it like everything else, and what we're doing here is you're gonna want to cast it out. Let it sit for, you could even let it sit for up to 30 seconds to maybe a minute, depending on how deep water. And if you're in a pond, you might want to use a smaller 2-hook one. If you're at a deeper lake, you can use the 3-prong one or 3-hooked one. You're going to want to cast it out, let it sink for a period of time. It should suspend, so it should be sinking pretty slowly, and it should have it should be sinking with the nose down a little bit. And if it's not, you can make some adjustments like changing the hook size and whatnot in the front to try to make it sit like this. But you want it suspending, and you can check that out before you cast it. Just drop it in the water with the line, of course, tied to it, and see how it's sitting. But if you're like me, you're a broke college kid. You can't afford all that, so just kind of work with what you got. But you do want it suspending. You don't want it floating back to the top, especially this time of year. And then, so after you throw it out and you let it sit for a couple seconds, you wanna jerk it. A quick jerk on a slacked line. It has to be on a slacked line. If it's not on a slacked line, it's gonna not make the side to side motion as much as it should, and it won't end up well. Now, the reason I'm using this bigger jerk bait and the style of jerk bait more so is because the lip is coming down from the where you're hooking the line to a little bit more. It makes it go a little bit deeper, and the motion not necessarily deeper, yes and no, but what it does really is that it's the motion isn't as as what's the word I'm looking for? I'll get back to it, but the motion is a little less crazy, I should say, than something. I have this here. This is as a X-Wrap. This is a Rapala X-Wrap. This is not the bait to use right now. This is my example. This isn't. Now, what you guys can do, now I can show you guys, the lip on here is much lower than the lip on here. See, the lip on the X-Wrap, let's get a good angle on that. The lip on the X-Wrap is right up by the nose, and the lip on this jerk bait is a little bit lower. So you want to stick with this kind of bait right now. Reason being, the X-Wrap has a much more erratic, that was the word I was looking for, erratic motion, and the fish aren't really active enough. You work this a little bit quicker. In the summertime, it's a more effective bait, later spring, summertime. So, not right now. This is my example, not the bait now. Don't use it. Anyway, use this. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to go into some of our slower baits. Guys, swim bait. It's the tail I had on the chatterbait, but just the swim bait. This is the Berkeley Power Bait paddle tail swim bait. I'm not exactly sure on the color, but you guys can tell it's a shad color. I've had my best success in this success with this in murky water. This color, anywhere from I don't know, low visibility, basically, guys. It's a great bait. Now, with the water being cold, like I went over, this has to be worked slow.
Now you can use a regular swim bait hook and work it back real slow. Buy a bigger swim bait, but for ponds and smaller lakes and stuff, this is a pretty good size. The shad don't get too much bigger. Well, they do get too much bigger, but that's not the point. This is a good size overall. It's got the nice red eye. I actually just caught my PB on this bait, and I did not have it rigged like a swim bait. What I did, I didn't have any swim bait hooks at the time. I used a regular worm hook, believe it or not, just a regular worm hook, just like that. And what I did is I rigged it up through and through, like so. And let's see if I can get it done right now. This might not be the best rig up right now, but anyway, I rigged it through and through so that I had some hook exposed. And I know I had this part here, whatever. It's not the best quality, but I didn't have anything else to hook it with. I didn't have any other hooks, so I used this, and nothing else was biting. They weren't biting on anything else, so I came to this. I said, well, let's just try something different. So I rigged it kind of crappy like this, whatever. And what I was doing is I was just resembling a dying shad, I should say, and casting it out, letting it sink, just working it like a jerkbait, basically. Not too much different than the jerkbait. I just caught my PB on this. It was 6.4 pounds, something like that. But great bait, guys, right now. Moving on, even slower baits. Even slower baits, because the fish are slow. The jig. The jig is the juice. Guys, the jig, I can't express it enough. Right here I have, it's a pro competitor, I don't know. I found it at a local outdoor store. This is a kind of more of a swim jig model, as you can tell by the skinniness of the head, shape of it. Good jig, very good jig. I actually need to cut these down, the hook guard, a little bit. The hook guard should be just at about the tip of your hook. It's a little bit past that, if you guys can tell. So I'll probably cut it down a little bit. Guys, jigs, it's a pretty simple process. Throw it out. I mean, with the swim jig, you can swim it, but regular jigs right now is something like a football jig. If you have a deep enough water with not too muddy of a bottom, you could even work the swim jig. I have success with just jigging it on the bottom, but throwing it out and literally dragging it. And once you come up to any kind of structure where you're bumping into something, kind of jig it a little bit. Couple taps of the rod, nothing, hop it over whatever you're at and keep going. But like everything else, base it on the clarity of your water. As the trailer, I actually need to cut the skirt of this really bad. I haven't cut it yet because I'm lazy and I didn't bring scissors with me. I have a Havoc Pit Boss on the back of it. Great bait by itself. It's the pumpkin green color to match the pumpkin green jig. Great bait. Like I said, literally cast it out and drag it. It can't get any more simple than that. Anyone can catch a fish on a jig. Moving on to our last and final bait, or setup of fishing, is the Texas rig. So, guys, what you need, if you don't already know, your bullet sinker, and your worm hook. Really simple. And a worm. Any worm. I don't care what worm. You get a finesse worm, you can get a ribbon tail, you can get just a regular Stanko. Does not matter for right now. It does, but it doesn't. Whatever you feel what you're most confident in, basically. I have my power bait ribbon tail worm. It's called the power worm. This is I think the red shad color, the purple pinkish blackish color. I think purple and black, I don't know. Great bait. Guys, with the Texas rig, it's the same thing as the jig for the most part. You're dragging it along the bottom, and what I like to do with these is just little hops, little pops, Nothing too crazy right now. The fish are, like I said, they're so lethargic. It's all about getting them to react because they are lazy. They're hungry, but they're lazy. They're cold. So, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. There's not much else to add. So, basically, guys, thank you. This is my first video. Subscribe to my channel, please. And if you like the video, please. Thank you guys very much. Fish on.